We're fearlessly talking about the biggest stories that matter to you the most. Breaking news, John Calipari is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the Arkansas Razorbacks' next head coach, covering college sports like no one else. The biggest guests in sports. We now welcome in Hall of Famer Jim Calhoun.
Such a pride I had, I came to connect.
The legend, Tim Tebow, joins us.
We'll run it back. I like it.
The legend, Herschel Walker. Welcome in, everybody. Little Wednesday night edition, Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great day. By the way, for those of you watching the show, hope everybody is enjoying the new setup. Took some technology, but we got something on that TV. By the way, as we go on, one, we're going to get rid of that wire there. But two, we're going to do all sorts of fun stuff with that monitor behind me. So I am so excited. By the way, if you are an advertiser or somebody who would like your logo to reach millions of people across the calendar year, you can always reach out to me, Aaron Torres, podcastquestions@gmail.com. Tell you what, though, we got a loaded show. Intention was not to start with basketball, but guess what? The SEC dropped its basketball schedule on Wednesday. We got to talk a little bit about the big games, the big moments, what it all means. And from there, we'll do actually quite a bit of football. No major storylines over the last couple days, but did you see this? A college football red zone potentially coming. That sounds fun. Could it work for college hoops? Could it work for college baseball? We'll discuss that. We will also discuss a little Hard Knocks debut, a little Any Given Saturday. No worries. There will be no spoilers there. And we'll wrap, just some other football stuff, including Shedeur Sanders. I'm a believer. He's getting that start on Friday. So we'll talk a little football odds and ends, and then we'll get out of here on a busy Wednesday night. Should have some fun for you throughout the rest of the week as well. Before we get started, only real reminder that you need to know, make sure that you're subscribed to the Aaron Torres Pod and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. On YouTube, new clips, new videos going up every single day. Make sure you're subscribed. We're over 58,000 subscribers. I think we can get to 60,000 before the start of football season. So make sure you're subscribed. Also, make sure to subscribe to the podcast feed. You can listen on Apple. You can listen on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We really do appreciate your support. And if you want to do your boy Torres a solid, leave a 5-star rating and review. By the way, right off the top, I'm not even going to duck the lead here. Darren checking in from Queensland, Australia. Love the Australian connection there. We appreciate your support in Australia, in the United States, wherever. Drop your thoughts, drop your questions, drop your comments, drop your location. Always love to know where we're listened to from. As we know, we have a big presence in Peru. We have learned that over the last couple weeks as well. So shout out to Queensland, Australia. They are listening to the Aaron Torres Pod over there. We appreciate your support. With that said, busy Wednesday in sports. No more time to waste. Let's get to the topic of the day. Topic of the day, listen. Football. Can we get some real football news here? Because I'm ready to talk football. I'm ready to break it all down. We'll get to some football in a minute. But to me, the most noteworthy news of Wednesday, it actually came from the world of basketball. Okay, so the SEC, reigning best conference in college basketball, 14 NCAA tournament bids a season ago. They dropped the SEC basketball schedule today on Wednesday. Shout out my guy, Garth Glissman, the associate commissioner of basketball for the SEC. He came on this show a few months ago because if you remember a few months ago, we found out what opponents would be. Texas is going to play these teams. Arkansas is going to play those teams, Missouri, etc. And today, though, we got the actual dates and times of who's going to play, when they're going to play. And you already know Torres has plenty of takes about what that schedule is going to look like. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into the schedule. Before we do, though, I think it's important, in my opinion, to contextualize what we're going to look at, right? It's almost like the college football poll a few days ago, is that a Texas Ohio State feels big, but when they're number one and number two in the poll, it feels even bigger than it maybe does. And so I bring it up because I just want to kind of contextualize before we start talking about these games, like who do we actually expect to be good this coming season? So let's start with my most recent college hoops poll has 7 SEC teams in the top 25 to begin the season. I'll be transparent. I think there are 3 teams that, in my opinion, have separated themselves off the top. I have Kentucky at number 3 in my way too early top 25. Obviously, a bunch of older players coming in through the transfer portal. You bring back Otega Oweh, who I haven't done my preseason All-SEC team, but I assume Otega Oweh will probably be my preseason SEC player of the year. I think Arkansas, to me, is a definitive top 10 team. Those 4 guys back from last year. You add in a bunch of high-level freshmen, Malik Thomas, Darius Acuff, specifically those big transfers in the middle. And then Florida, to me, is also in that top tier. Now, other people that cover college hoops, they have them like number 1, number 3. I think they're about a top 10 team. I have them at number 11. I don't see Florida as the definitive favorite in this league, but to me, those are the top 3. And then from there, there's a second tier. Auburn, I have at number 18 in my way too early top 25. I would argue maybe a little too low now that Tahad Pettiford is officially back. I have Alabama at number 20, LeBaron Philon there. 22, remember, Sean Miller is now the head coach of the Texas Longhorns. I think they're going to be much improved. Sean Miller coming off a tournament bid at Xavier. And coming in at number 24, the Tennessee Volunteers did lose a lot, but we trust Rick Barnes. He's going to figure it out. So I have 7 teams from the SEC in my way too early top 25. So with that said, let's get to some of my takeaways from the SEC schedule release on Wednesday. First one to me, that first Saturday of SEC play, as the kids say, it's going to be absolute cinema. Okay. So listen, we go back to last year. Remember that opening day of the SEC was unbelievable. Florida at Kentucky. Now, we didn't know Florida was going to be the eventual champion, but that was one of the best games of the regular season. We also had Arkansas at Tennessee, not nearly as good, but clearly 2 teams that made it to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. Well, this year, SEC right off the gate, a couple great games to really get fans super excited for the season ahead. The first one that is of note, we have Alabama hosting the Kentucky Wildcats. Now, to me, that's super important. Now, these 2 teams played twice last year. They're only playing once. And I think, one, it's a metaphor for how tough Kentucky's schedule kind of is, especially early. We'll look at their schedule specifically in a minute. But Kentucky opening at Alabama, that's a tough place to play. You easily could go 0-1. Obviously, from Alabama's perspective, if you're going to play Kentucky, you want to get them at home, and you hope to start off well. So Alabama hosting Kentucky on day 1 is going to be awesome. And then I think the rematch of last year's season opener, Tennessee at Arkansas. Arkansas at that point was pretty banged up. They get blown out and run out of the building against Tennessee. I believe Tennessee was actually number 1 in the country at that point. Remember, Tennessee started the season about 17-0, 18-0. Well, I just bring it back. Arkansas getting revenge maybe at Bud Walton Arena to open the season against the Tennessee Vols. That's take number 1. Day 1 is going to be absolutely awesome. I'll take it a step further. I think that second Saturday, January 10th, is going to be awesome as well. Look at some of these games. So Arkansas at Auburn. So Arkansas and Auburn, those are 2 teams that are actually playing twice this year. They only played once last year. It was when Auburn was number 1. It was at Auburn. It was a game that Arkansas very easily could have won. It was kind of in that moment in time where they had started to turn a corner, but they hadn't quite gotten there yet. Well, now you got to go to the Plains. You got to go to Neville Arena early in the season. And like I said, I have Auburn at number 18. I think Auburn might actually be a little bit better than that. I'll do one more top 25 before the season starts. I think, in April and May, you look at these rosters day over day over day and probably didn't factor in how good I think Tahad Pettiford can be and will be. And so, like I said, I think I'll probably be moving up Auburn a little bit from that number 18 spot. But that January 10th date, Arkansas at Auburn, I think the other game that's worth noting, Tennessee at the defending champion Florida Gators. Remember, these two teams split last year, and I think they were both noteworthy for a very specific reason. One, if you remember last year, Tennessee and Florida played. Florida was good coming into SEC play, but they didn't really get challenged. I think they were undefeated. I think they were 13-0, as a matter of fact, but they weren't really challenged. They didn't play the toughest out of conference schedule, and so they lose the opener to Kentucky. You know they're good, but Tennessee, as I said, was undefeated last year, goes to the O-Dome in the first week of the regular season and gets boat raced, and you're like, oh, Tennessee's not only good, but Florida's good as well. That loss at Kentucky maybe is more of a reflection of how good Kentucky can be as opposed to just Florida. So in that second Saturday of college hoops, we get Tennessee and Florida, as I mentioned. Mississippi State and Kentucky. I think Mississippi State's going to be good. You know, these two programs have actually played a couple really interesting games the last few years. Remember the Josh Hubbard, Reed Shepherd game a few years ago? This past year, it was Ansley Almanor that really blew up at Mississippi State. So this is the first time that Mississippi State's playing in Lexington in a couple years. So that second Saturday to me really stands out. I think as you move your way through January, the last super thing, it's all super, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. The thing that stands out, Saturday, January 31st, Bud Walton Arena. The only game between Arkansas and Kentucky, at least in the regular season this year. Now, to me, this is noteworthy for a few reasons. First of all, they are only playing once. Now, shout out my buddy Garth Glissman from the SEC office. I was critical of this decision. He came on the podcast and defended it. You know, you can go back and listen to that interview. I think it was like early to mid-June. I remember the College World Series was going on maybe during that time. So shout out to Garth Glissman. Shout out to the SEC office for not kind of ducking the smoke on this one. The more that I think about it, though, the way these two fan bases kind of go at each other, maybe only playing once is good. You know, it's almost like a Louisville, Kentucky. It's almost like an Auburn, Alabama in football. And I'm not saying the rivalry is as good, but the winner gets a year's worth of bragging rights, right? You know, listen, I see it. I don't want to say every day, but almost every day. Arkansas fans still hold that game at Rupp Arena last year over Kentucky fans' heads, and there's nothing Kentucky fans can do about it until January 31st of next year in 2026. So only meeting John Calipari versus Kentucky Part 2. And I will give the SEC credit for this. If they're only going to play once, this is the first Saturday with no football in quite a while. Okay, this is the Saturday between the NFC and AFC championship games and the Super Bowl. So the casual sports fan is going to be looking for something to watch like they were last year. We get Cal hosting Kentucky, the bad blood between the two fan bases. Listen, hopefully ESPN makes the right decision and sends game day to Bud Walton Arena this year, because last year I thought they whiffed not having game day at Rupp Arena. But bring it up to say we get one matchup between those two teams, but that is maybe the single marquee game on that schedule. Really quick, while we're on these two teams, I'll say this. I think there's a couple things about the individual teams' schedules that stand out. Let's start with Kentucky. You know, with Kentucky, I'll say this. I don't know that I kind of realized it in real time. They have a brutal schedule, and it's because of the way things shook out. So if you remember last year, they played Alabama twice, they played Tennessee twice, and they played Vanderbilt twice. Okay, so why do I bring it up? I bring it up because you go back to last year, and they played Arkansas at Rupp Arena only. They played Auburn at Rupp Arena only, and then they had the dual set up with Alabama. Why that's important? They now have road-only games at Arkansas, at Bama, at Auburn. Those are three really tough places to play, and you don't get the return game, in advance. On top of that, you have the dual home and home with Florida and Tennessee. Now, Garth Glissman came on the show and talked about the importance of maintaining those rivalries, especially after Florida and Kentucky only played once. So you can legitimately make the argument. The 5 best teams in the SEC outside Kentucky, Kentucky will have to play all 5 on the road and only get 2 of them at home. Now, you can argue maybe some of these teams don't live up to expectations. Maybe Bama's not as good, Tennessee, whatever. Those are 5 really tough places to play. And again, you only get 2 of them at home. So that was something that stood out to me. I think the other thing, too, while we're at it, the early part of that schedule, by the end of January, you will have already played at Alabama, at Tennessee, at Arkansas. All 3 of those games are on Saturdays, by the way, so they're probably going to be at night, probably going to have pretty crazy crowds. I just bring it up because that is a thankless schedule, but hey, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You know, you want to win that SEC regular season title, you are going to earn it this year with just a banana schedule. I think the opposite, I would say, is sort of true of Arkansas as well. I'm not sitting here saying that Arkansas has the easiest schedule in the SEC, not when you have the double game against Auburn, okay? But at the same time, what stands out to me about Arkansas is you only play Tennessee once, you get them at home. You only play Kentucky once, you get them at home. Now, you do have to go to Alabama in a standalone one-off game, and you do have to go to Florida in a standalone one-off game. So of those kind of, again, marquee opponents, the good news is you do get LSU twice. I'm sorry, I like Matt McMahon, but I'll believe that they're an SEC player when I see it. And Missouri, I don't know that I necessarily love at this time this year. So the Arkansas schedule breaks a little bit more manageably as well. I think that's one of the big things that stands out to me. Arkansas getting Tennessee and Kentucky in their only games at home. Do have to go to Florida and Bama. But all things considered, it could be much worse. Really quickly, I think the only other thing I'd add, and by the way, you could drop your thoughts, your comments, your whatever in the chat, is that the only other thing that I would add, I think the SEC did a good job on the back half of the schedule, okay? A couple things. One, Valentine's Day's got a couple very intriguing games. Valentine's Day, by the way, fellas, falls on a Saturday this year, so there's a couple intriguing games on that day. The return, Auburn at Bud Walton Arena, Kentucky at Florida. Hey, honey, what are we doing for Valentine's Day? We're going to see Gators hosting the Kentucky Wildcats. There's going to be a lot of young ladies in Gainesville that their Valentine's Day gift is a trip to the O-Dome. Same with the young ladies in Fayetteville that are going to Bud Walton Arena. So the February 14th schedule is very interesting to me. And then I would add, finally, to put a little bow on it, I think the schedule closes with a bang. Florida at Kentucky. Listen, I love everything about the fact this was, remember, for years when Billy Donovan was at Florida. And frankly, if we're going to be honest, the SEC was kind of a 2-team league. It was Kentucky and Florida every year. This was the way the schedule ended. But this year, you get Florida at Kentucky to end the regular season. Auburn at Alabama, so another rivalry game to wrap the year. 2 teams that I think should be good once again. A couple other noteworthy games there as well. Oklahoma at Texas. I'll be honest, I've never been to Austin, was thinking about making a trip. I wish Texas's home schedule was a little bit tougher. They do play Florida in the middle of the year, but they have to travel to Kentucky for their only game against Kentucky. They do play, I believe, at Bama in their only game against Bama, at Auburn in their only game against Auburn. So not a loaded schedule for Texas. But like I said, those are the things that stand out to me. Great opening day, actually a great second weekend. We get that one singular Kentucky versus Arkansas game that I'm fired up for. Florida, Kentucky, I think is going to be 2 phenomenal games. And overall, man, we're just going to have some fun covering college hoops this year. Listen, we got a lot of football to get through these next few months, but I will tell you this. I am so fired up for college basketball. I think NIL and the portal has helped elevate the top of the sport. And I think in the SEC, Arkansas, Kentucky, Florida, never doubt Tennessee, never doubt Bruce Pearl and Auburn, never doubt Nate Oates and Alabama. And I'm telling you, I think Sean Miller is going to be good at Texas as well. All right, so what we're going to do, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, did you see this story? RedZone. We might be getting a college football RedZone. And what I want to talk about is the possibility of not only a college football RedZone, but could it work for college hoops? Could it work for college baseball? We'll take a quick break, come back, discuss that. All right, we're going to get back to the show in a minute, but before we do, I have so many people that reach out and say, Torres, you give me hours and hours and hours of free content every day, every month, every year. What can I do to help support the show? Well, you want to support the show and look good in the process. Make sure to check out and support the Aaron Torres Media merch store at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. Some of you wondering, what can I get in that merch store, Torres? Well, Kentucky fans, we got our Mark Pope Hope and Pope t-shirts. That is right. Mark Pope, monster first year. Year 2 is going to be even better. Get your Hope and Pope t-shirt at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. Arkansas fans, the Big Pig Invasion is coming. It is here. John Calipari has things rocking. Get your Big Pig Invasion tees. Again, aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. St. John's fans, we have our Big Rick Energy t-shirts. And if you're just a college basketball fan in general, guess what? Your March is for Day Drinking shirt. That is the shirt that you need year-round, but especially for the next NCAA tournament. You can order yours now. By the way, football fans, we got you covered too. Auburn fans, we already know the freeze warning has hit the plains. Make sure to get your freeze warning t-shirts. Also, Nebraska fans, new era, new rules, the t-shirt that you need before the start of this coming season. And oh, by the way, if you're a Colorado fan, if you're just a Coach Prime fan, we have our Dion shirts and hats, more of them than we know what to do with. So to check out the full line of Aaron Torres Media merch and also support the show, good news is we're going to have even more for the fall. Check out the Aaron Torres Media merch store at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. And for more information, you can always reach out at Aaron Torres Podcast Questions at gmail.com. All right, everybody, I'm back. Good to be back. So tell you what, we got a couple questions I want to hit on. The first one, this is a good question from Luke. He says, Torres, I'm not understanding the Ole Miss hype for 2025. Week 2, they go to Kentucky, a team that beat them last year when they had their best team ever. UK needs that game, and I think they get it. How about you? First of all, let's make sure that I have this right. Are we talking football or basketball here? Because Kentucky got Ole Miss in football as well. Let's take a look here because I think they play early. They do. Okay, Luke has got a little football comment here in the middle of basketball. We will talk. I'll talk this one really quick, then we'll get to some basketball stuff. So, Luke, I actually agree with you, and I would add, producer Matt, you can plug the CFB Betting YouTube channel. We upload a lot of clips from our CFB Betting pod on there. We just surpassed 1,000 subscribers. If people want to get us there as well. Ole Miss is a team I don't believe in. Listen, I'm not I think there's this narrative of like, you can't build a winner in the portal. And I think it's certainly harder in football where you have so many bodies. Ole Miss lost everybody off of last year's team. And I get the Austin Simmons hype. Like, Austin Simmons is going to be good. Lane Kiffin knows what he's doing. I mean, they lost everybody. Their best receivers, Walter Nolan, first-round pick, Jackson Dart, first-round pick. We haven't dropped our Ole Miss preview yet, but I think their over-under is like 8.5, and I just don't see it at all. By the way, Ole Miss basketball a little weird too because they lost basically everybody, but I'm actually with you on this, Luke. I don't understand the hype either. I think it's a Lane Kiffin thing. Listen, I get they've won 9+ games the last 3 years, but 1, Kiffin takes weird losses. 2, schedule will never be easier than last year. By the way, the talent on his team will probably never be better than it was a year ago. So I just bring it up because I'm with you, is that I actually don't think they're going to be very good. I think they're probably like a 7-5-ish team. Spoiler alert, producer Matt and I will be doing some shows from Vegas over the next couple weeks. We'll do an over-under win total show, and I think Ole Miss is going to be one of my favorite unders. Really quickly, couple other things that I do want to get to. Back to basketball for half a second. I saw one that I wanted to get to. Andrew says, the heat has turned down a notch with Arkansas, Kentucky. I just disagree with that. And I think it will turn back up, especially if Arkansas is good this year, if they live up to expectations. Kind of same with Kentucky. If you think the heat's turned down, just look at this chat. There's a lot of anger in this chat right now. So shout out to Andrew for that comment. And then really quickly, I saw this, made me laugh. I do want to give a shout out to, again, Darren, who is listening in Australia. He says, good luck on your driver's test, Jaden Quaintance. I did not send producer Matt the video, but it is funny. Jaden Quaintance will be taking a driver's test. Mark Pope set up a test course in a parking lot in Lexington. That would have been a fun way to end the show, but we didn't get the video in time. All right, really quickly, let's kind of stay on a sort of college basketball, sort of college football topic. And basically, it comes in the form of ESPN, NFL, RedZone, college sports, RedZone as well. Okay, so bottom line is we don't do a ton of like sports business stuff on this show. But at the same time, probably one of the bigger news stories of the last couple of days is the fact that ESPN has bought out the NFL Network, okay? Now, first of all, I'm not a labor lawyer, and if we have any in the chat, I would love to know how this is not some sort of monopoly. I don't also think it benefits the consumer of football that ESPN and the NFL are now business partners, but I bring it up solely to say that for whatever reason, that for the fact that this did happen, while it is weird, it is interesting because I think the first reaction was, is this going to impact NFL RedZone, which is basically like amazing, right? I think we all watch RedZone to some degree, especially those early Saturday or Sunday afternoon, that 1 p.m. Eastern window when there's a million games. Well, I bring it up because everybody wants to know, is RedZone going to be impacted now that ESPN owns the NFL Network? How about this? Roger Goodell saying, not only will RedZone not be impacted, we could get a college football version of RedZone. Here's Roger Goodell earlier on Wednesday.
One of the most popular elements of NFL programming has been RedZone. It's a staple for NFL fans. What is that going to look like now under this new partnership?
Well, that'll actually stay the same. It'll continue to be produced right here in this building. It will be the NFL RedZone. I don't think fans will see any difference to that. Obviously, in the context of that, though, ESPN purchased the RedZone name, and they will be able to utilize that for other sports, college football and other things. And I think that could be an exciting thing for our fans also, to see a RedZone maybe in college football or other sports. That's something that they now own and have the ability to do that. But as far as RedZone, NFL RedZone, there won't be any changes for our fans.
Well, it's an absolute staple. That's good news. And expanding that, that's pretty fast.
Did you hear what Roger Goodell just said? He said, and I quote, they have purchased the name for RedZone for the NFL, maybe college and other things. Okay. So could we be getting a college football RedZone? I think as importantly, can we be getting a college basketball RedZone? Although it probably wouldn't be called RedZone since there's no RedZone on a basketball court. This made me feel really good. Let's go ahead and talk about it really quick. First of all, before we even get to college football, maybe a college basketball RedZone, we need one during championship week, by the way. First of all, let me say this. Goodell says that NFL RedZone will not change as far as the NFL is concerned. I don't have a lot of wishes in life. Roger Goodell, if you listen to the Aaron Torres pod, do not let ESPN screw up RedZone. Okay, it's one of the few things in life that like let me ask you this. How many things in life have a near 100% approval rating? You could drop them in the chat. There aren't very many. Have you ever heard anyone say anything other than NFL RedZone is the greatest thing that has ever happened to TV? Again, especially that 1 p.m. Eastern window, you get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, whatever. You're just going back and forth, this and that. And I think when this ESPN thing became a thing, I think we all thought, oh no, don't screw up RedZone. Please don't screw up RedZone. So I don't know if Roger Goodell heard the noise. I think Hannah Storm, who was interviewing him, absolutely heard the noise because she made it a priority to ask about RedZone. And he says, this thing ain't going anywhere. There's nothing to worry about. I speak for everybody in the chat. I speak for everybody when I say, Do not screw up NFL Red Zone. Same time, though, beyond that, there is another important part of this. Did you hear Roger Goodell say that we might be getting a college football Red Zone? Listen, I don't ask for much. I would put down the mic and do the Ricky Bobby, please, sweet baby Jesus. Unfortunately, my mic is kind of, it's a little wonky right now. I'm afraid if I put it down, the audio might get screwed up. Can we get a college football Red Zone, please? Can you name something that would be more awesome? I mean, just think about the fact, those busy Saturdays, right, where there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games going on, when there's, multiple top 25 matchups, not just I'm thinking mostly that night window, the 7:30, 7 p.m. Eastern window, where you might have 2 or 3 matchups of multiple top 25 teams, when every single broadcast partner has some sort of game on, when Notre Dame is playing on NBC and Fox has a big game and ESPN and ABC has the SEC game of the night and then ESPN has another SEC game. Like, we need Red Zone for that exact purpose. And I know what people say, well, how do they get the other networks and da-da-da-da and this and that? Listen, you could show highlights. It's allowed. Sports Center shows highlights of games that aren't on ESPN or ABC. We can figure out a way to get highlights of Ohio State, Michigan on a Red Zone type show if it's going on in real time. So to me, let's get this ESPN Red Zone thing going, because the bottom line is what a win it would be for college football fans. And again, just that busy Saturday, can you imagine being, instead of trying to have 5 TVs going or whipping around, maybe you get that one big TV for the big game that you really want to watch. Maybe it's your team that's playing, whatever. And then you are able to put on Red Zone and monitor everything else. I think, by the way, it would be a net win for a lot of like the group of 5 schools that don't get as much exposure. And like, even if you have a 2-3 TV setup, you're not putting on Tulane versus Army or whatever, but now you can have a Tulane versus Army update. I think it would be just such a win for college basketball fans, or college football fans, excuse me. Now, what I also thought, Roger Goodell said, for college football and other things. We were just talking the SEC basketball schedule. For the love of God, can we please get a college basketball Red Zone whip around type show? Those Saturdays in February where we think there's a lot of games in college football. Those college basketball Saturdays are absolutely insane. I mean, I think about those noon Eastern windows when everyone is playing and how pretty much it goes on from noon to 2 to 4 to 6 to 8. We got about 10 straight hours of basketball where there are games wall to wall, this and that. And then can you imagine like those final few weekends of the regular season when there's 20 teams on the bubble, when there's, oh, by the way, let's not forget about the small conferences where it's like if they lose this game, they're completely off the bubble. And UC Irvine is 30-2, but if they lose this game, they have no chance of getting an at-large bid. And you don't have to monitor it on some weird app. You don't have to have some illegal streaming service. They can have it on the Whip Around show, the Red Zone show. I think it would be a total net win for college basketball's regular season. Let me take it a step further. Can you imagine that thing during Champ Week? Listen, Champ Week is my favorite week on the sports calendar. You get all of the conference tournaments all at once. But can we also call a spade is that once you get into like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, when all of those major conferences are playing, there's literally no way to keep up with it. I mean, you go to that Thursday, Friday night of championship week, every single conference is playing at the same time. The SEC is playing, the Big Ten is playing, the Big 12 is playing, the ACC is playing, the Big East is playing. And obviously, as great as Red Zone would be for college football, I think for college basketball, it would be even better. And I think for, again, those last couple weekends of the regular season, and then certainly for Champ Week, it would be just a surreal thing to have as part of the programming rotation. Lastly, I'll just say this. As a guy who's a quote-unquote college baseball guy for about 2 weeks a year, every year, conference tournaments for college baseball, I think it would be, I think it'd be really clutch because, again, as somebody who knows nothing about college baseball, and I think even most people don't know that much about college basketball, but for somebody who doesn't know anything about college baseball, if Mississippi State loses this game, they're not getting into the NCAA tournament. Who's on the bubble? Who's this? Who's that? Can you imagine that regional week? I know they have some sort of kind of whip around show, but those regional weekends where there are 16 sites playing all day, the idea of having a whip around show on those days, people, I'm about to faint just thinking about it. And I'll wrap by saying, like, I think we all kind of thought this ESPN buying the NFL Network, again, I still think there's got to be some antitrust monopoly thing going on. And I'm not talking about Boardwalk and Park Place. When I talk about monopoly, I'm talking about like against, the law. But if we're going to have it, I like Goodell basically saying, why can't we get a college football red zone? Why can't we get a red zone in other sports? Let's expand this thing. Shout out to Roger Goodell, who I think he made a lot of fans of a lot of sports happy with that comment. All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take one more break. We're going to come back when we do. Just whip around some football news and notes. Hard Knocks dropped last night. We're not going to do any spoilers or anything, but just some thoughts on Hard Knocks, some thoughts on this, some thoughts on that. Shedeur Sanders, listen, he's a topic everybody's talking about, so we might as well wrap by talking Shedeur. We'll take a quick break, talk a little football. Be right back. What's up, everybody? It's AT, and I've told you before, when I'm on the road, when I'm podcasting, sometimes you end up looking like a slob. Look at me, mismatched socks. I'm wearing shorts. What am I doing? The folks at Fiobach said, Torres, let's get you some fresh gear to look better when you're on camera. Well, what do you think? This is all part of the spring collection for Fiobach. These jeans, perfect when I want to go to games, casual, serious, business casual, you name it. Got the quarter zip. And oh, by the way, we got this perfect zip. This is the perfect spring, summer zip that you can wear when you're out with friends. Maybe it gets a little chilly. Maybe it's a little chilly in the morning. Perfect for all occasions. So this is what I need you to do. If you like what you see, and you should, what I need you to do is visit Fiobach.com. That's Fiobach.com, F-I-O-B-O-C. By the way, Fiobach has a special promo code for listeners of the Aaron Torres pod. Use promo code Torres and get 20% off your purchase. Thank you again to Fiobach. By the way, make sure that you're following them on social media at Fiobach, F-I-O-B-O-C. Thank you, Fiobach. All right, everybody. I'm back. Good to be back. Final segment of the show. So good to be back. Do want to go ahead and wrap the show with a couple other news and notes. Before we do, though, you know what I got to do? I got to thank our friends. I got to thank our partners. I got to thank Collyps and Collypuffs.com. Okay, so I've told you all about Collypuffs, but it's the summertime. You're still trying to look good in that bathing suit, that bikini, that two-piece, that one-piece, that Speedo, whatever you're wearing, because we got a couple more weeks before it turns to football season and you're back on the couch. So get in shape. You need a snack that is both healthy but delicious, but you also need something that you're going to enjoy, something you're going to love, your kids are going to love, your grandkids are going to love, maybe your parents are going to love. You need to try Collypuffs, okay? First off, family-owned company, great story. Joey, a huge football fan, is the founder. And basically, he was sitting on the couch one day saying, I need a snack that is healthy but delicious. I need something that I can give to my kids. And he came up with Collypuffs. They're baked, not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients. But the best part is they taste freaking delicious, okay? At this point, you don't need to take my word for it. This is what you need to do. You need to go to Collypuffs.com. That's Collypuffs.com. That's Collipuffs.com. Collypuffs.com. You can also find them on Amazon. But if you go to Collypuffs.com and you've been on the fence, do I try them? Do I not try them? Should I not? Well, here's the best part. You can try them and get a 15% off discount when you use the promo code Torres. So all you got to do, go to Collypuffs.com, use promo code Torres at checkout to get 15% off. Thank you to Collypuffs. We appreciate their support. All right, couple topics in football to get to. First of all, let me say this. I didn't even tell you this, Producer Matt. I don't know if you saw this. There was like a hot internet rumor that Garrett Nussmeier got hurt at practice today. that certainly would have been a big story. I've seen multiple LSU insiders, including my buddy Jacob Hester, say that that is not an issue. So Garrett Nussmeier, a little bit of an internet scare, but it doesn't sound like it really held up all that much. But I bring it up because it's that time of year. Obviously, look, if you guys see anything in the world of football that you want us to talk about, let us know. It's obviously it's a hard time, honestly, to find like national college football topics. But I just bring it up because, again, if there's anything that you want, you can always reach out. You can always touch base. Let us know what you want, all that good stuff. So Garrett Nussmeier appears to be okay. Another football injury that I saw, apparently Dallas Wilson, 5-star wide receiver at Florida, went out with an injury today. Now, we don't know the severity of it. What is going on at Florida? Is Billy Napier just cursed? Okay. Because DJ Lagway is like in and out. DJ Lagway needs to be in bubble wrap. The starting quarterback seemingly gets hurt all the time, pulled a hamstring late last year, comes back, helps Florida win a bunch of games. Then, he doesn't throw during the spring because of a shoulder issue. He comes back from that. He was in a walking boot. He appears to be fine now. But Dallas Wilson, who was kind of the breakout star of their spring game, went down with an injury today. We don't have any updates as of now. If you're watching this later, we don't need you in the comment section. Oh, Torres, how did you not know? Listen, we're reacting in real time like everything else. Florida Gators, obviously, sort of a make or break year. It's kind of wild with Billy Napier because, it felt like he was off the hot seat. And now all of a sudden, all these injuries, like he could be back on that hot seat really quick. So we'll see what happens with Billy Napier. We'll see what happens with the Florida Gators, obviously hoping that everything's okay. But that was one thing that did catch my attention. Couple other notes before we get out of here. First of all, great sign that we are really close to football. Hard Knocks. Monday night. What was it? Monday night, Tuesday night? Tuesday night, Hard Knocks started. No spoilers because transparently, I did not get to watch it yet. But first off, a couple things stand out about Hard Knocks. One, this was supposed to be Hard Knocks North Carolina Tar Heels. Then Jordan Hudson stepped in and said, no. She gave the Dikembe Mutombo finger wag saying no Hard Knocks for the Carolina Tar Heels, wearing my Carolina blue as a sign of a protest because that should be Carolina Panthers. But I will be excited to watch the Buffalo Bills. To me, with the Bills, fascinating team. Now, I'm not a Sean McDermott guy. I was actually hosting Fox Sports Radio when they lost to the Chiefs last year. I don't think they're ever going to get over the hump with Sean McDermott as their head coach. I think he coaches scared and weird in big games, especially in the playoffs. But I am actually excited. If you did see it, again, no spoilers, I wonder if they even address that or if the team addresses it or if Sean McDermott addresses it. I thought it was a crazy ending to last year. Like I said, I think with the Bills, the Bills, they almost remind me of like the NFL's version of Penn State football, where it's like the Bills' best wins are close losses. Oh, they almost beat the Chiefs that one time in the playoffs. Oh, Penn State almost beat Oregon last year. They almost beat Ohio State. Some point you got to get over the hump. So I will be excited to watch. Like I'm kind of rooting for Josh Allen. I'll probably make Super Bowl picks at some point. The Bills will not be part of them, but it'll be interesting to watch. Should mention Netflix has a college football streaming show called Any Given Saturday, another show that I will be excited to watch. Reviews are in so far. Again, if anybody's gotten a chance to watch it, I would love for comments in the comments section. I just, to me, again, haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I've been told like really transparent, really honest. They don't kind of sugarcoat the big topics. So like a Billy Napier, from last year, a Sam Pittman from last year, like they kind of jump full speed ahead of like, oh, Billy Napier is coaching for his job. Sam Pittman is coaching for his job, all of that. And so I just bring it up because that's another one that maybe at some point we end up doing a special or not a watch party. Those things are so lame, but like a review of it. We did our Happy Gilmore review that everybody seemed to love a few days ago. So maybe we do an Any Given Saturday review here soon, but Any Given Saturday has debuted, as has Hard Knocks. All right. One more football topic that I do want to get to. And listen, we don't talk a ton of NFL on this show. But transparently, to me, Shedeur Sanders isn't even really an NFL topic. he is like, we have the huge college audience that watched him at Colorado. He is super, super famous as a quarterback. We got into this debate on Fox Sports Radio, like Shedeur Sanders. Would you argue Shedeur is maybe one of the 10 most famous quarterbacks on planet Earth right now? It sounds crazy, but it's like, think about it. Who's more famous than him that's an active player? Like, take out Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Who's more famous actively? Aaron Rodgers? Sure. Patrick Mahomes? Sure. Lamar Jackson? Probably. But you get to like, Dak would be in that category. But like, you get to Bo Nix. If Bo Nix and Shedeur are walking through an airport, who do you think is getting, more likely to get mobbed by fans? I think it's probably Shedeur. Michael Penix or Bo Nix, or Michael Penix or Shedeur Sanders. I think it's Shedeur Sanders. Anthony Richardson or Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur. Daniel Jones or Shedeur. So you get the point. So he's a huge topic, and he's a topic that we talked about during the NFL draft because he obviously fell. He falls to the Cleveland Browns. We'll get to my take in a minute, but I only want to talk about it because we found out on late Tuesday that when the Browns take the field for their first exhibition game on Friday, he will be under center. He will be playing quarterback. And forgive me when I say, I am really excited. I think this is great for the NFL, gives us something to talk about, something to get excited about. And I think he's going to play well. I don't know if there'll be a QB controversy or not by the end, but I think he's going to play really well. Bottom line, go back to draft night. Listen, my stance on Shedeur has not changed because nothing that I've seen or heard has changed. I don't understand how he fell out of the first round. Listen, if you watch this show, you watch college football, okay? And I'm not saying Colorado was, I'm not saying, well, whatever. But at the same time, can we all acknowledge he was one of the best quarterbacks in college football last year? You can argue maybe the schedule isn't as tough as the SEC, whatever. Go back and look at Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart, all his stats were against bad teams. They were against FCS teams, and I think they played Samford. He threw 6 touchdowns against Arkansas, which was probably the worst secondary that he faced all year. So it's like, don't sell me on Shedeur not being able to play up to the level of all these other guys. And oh, by the way, how about Tyler Shuck, the 26-year-old who played 7 years of college football and had one good season, okay? So I never thought Shedeur should have fallen. I believe he was one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And like, my opinion is, take out my opinion, I mean, the stats back it up, right? Go back and, like, it's easy to forget. The stats on Shedeur are insane. Last year, 74% completion percentage. 74% completion percentage. I don't care what level you're playing at. By the way, the Big 12 was a very good conference. Don't try to sell me that it wasn't. It might not have been the SEC or the Big 10. It was probably closer than people realize, and I know that because Arizona State should have beaten Texas in the college football playoff, so don't sell me on that. But he puts up 74% completion percentage, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and he does it with a team and behind an O-line that could not block for him. He was sacked 42 times, and even if some of those you want to blame on him, he held the ball on too long, he was also the only offense. They could not run the ball at all, and if he wasn't making plays, they had no chance to put up points, no chance to move the ball, and no chance to win. And so basically, he was completing 3 out of every 4 passes, and then even when he wasn't, let's not forget that, he was still the entire offense. And so I truly believe that you put him in an NFL offense behind an NFL O-line with NFL running backs and NFL wide receivers, this dude is going to ball out. And so to me, I am so fired up to see this guy because, again, I think all he needs is an opportunity, right? Because it's easy on draft night. Nobody knows exactly what's going on. Oh, there's rumors. That he didn't interview well, or that he showed up and he was on his phone instead of doing this. Well, guess what? You put him on that field, he's either good enough or he's not. And I'm excited to just find out. I think he's actually going to be good. The other thing, and this goes back to draft night as well, we talked about this after the draft. I'm still convinced that at some point he is going to get a shot for the Browns. Joe Flacco is 40 years old. As my monitor went off here, what the heck? dealing with this new technology. So what are we going to do here? So listen, Joe Flacco is 40 years old. Listen, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm about 40 years old. He ain't making it through the season because I know that I don't care how well he's training, how well he's eating, if he's taking the TB12 method. Joe Flacco is not making it through a 17-game NFL season. Okay, he's 40 years old. Kenny Pickett stinks. Dylan Gabriel, tiny. Shedeur Sanders, to me, is still going to get a shot, but part of it, again, will happen based on how he plays this weekend. And so I'm so excited. I hope he plays well. Lastly, I'll say this. I think it's just a win for the NFL because the NFL right now, listen, it's almost like college football. College football, I think, is making a huge mistake with the limited media availability. Like if I was advising the Big Ten, the SEC, whatever, I would say practices are open, media availability every day. If the NFL can open practices during the preseason, college football can as well. I'm sorry, Matt Rule and Mark Stoops and whoever. Kalen DeBoer. Nothing you're doing is so top secret that you can't have fans there or at least once a week or twice a week or whatever. I'm sorry. There's nothing you're doing that's so top secret that people can't know. And so there's no stories out of college football. The NFL, there's really not much. But now we get to see Shedeur in real time with the Cleveland Browns. And like I said, I think to me, this is a satisfying step in the evolution of Shedeur. Is he good enough? I think so. Is he good enough? You might feel differently. Is he good enough? We'll find out. And if he goes out there and he completes, 12 of 24 passes and he throws 2 picks, then he's, maybe he isn't good enough. And maybe all of us watching college football last year were duped. But if he is good enough, he's going to get a chance. He's going to put it on film. And I'm just so excited to see what it all looks like. And I just think it's a win for the NFL because in a preseason where basically starters don't play in the preseason anymore, you needed a story. You needed something interesting to talk about. This is it. I think he's going to be good. You don't complete 74% of your passes behind a lousy O-line if you don't know what you're doing. I think he's going to be good. I think by the middle of the year, he's going to get a shot in regular games, but we get to see Shedeur Sanders for ourselves in the NFL this Friday night against the Carolina Panthers, and I could not be happier. Producer Matt, any questions before we get out of here? I think the chat is mostly everybody's just arguing with each other. That's okay. Sometimes you got to fight. It's fine. Tell you what, I think we're going to go ahead. Yeah, the hate is back. Yeah, people were saying, Arkansas and Kentucky, there's not as much juice in that anymore. Yeah, you should check the chat right now because that thing is firing. All right, I'll tell you what. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. If you're not subscribed to the Aaron Torres pod, make sure to do so. Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Music, wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres pod, Apple, Spotify, etc. Make sure to rate and review the show as well. Give us a quick 5 stars. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, all that good stuff. Make sure you're following on social media at Aaron_Torres on Twitter, at Aaron Torres pod on Instagram, Aaron Torres podcast questions at gmail.com, Aaron Torres podcast questions at gmail.com. I'm actually doing Fox Sports Radio tomorrow night, so I don't know if we'll have a live show for the Arkansas fans in the chat. I am efforting our buddy Curtis Wilkerson. There has been a request/demand to get Curtis on the show, and we will see if we can get that done in the next 24 hours or so. But I think that's it. Shout out to Darren in Queensland, Australia. Thanks for the show, Aaron. We appreciate your support, Darren. By the way, we appreciate everybody's support. I mentioned this off the top. Torres, good show. Thank you, Andrew. We appreciate you. If you're an advertiser, you want to reach millions of people, you can always reach out to me, Aaron Torres podcast questions. Get your logo on there. We have all sorts of packages available. I don't know if that sounds appropriate, but we have all sorts of packages available. Big packages, small packages, you name the package. We got it for you. Also, what else was I going to say? Always take super chats. You want to support the show that way. We do have a member tier. We're going to start ramping that up as well, but we appreciate any support that you give to this show, and we appreciate you just listening to the show. So, time for us to get out of here. Time for everybody to go on their way. Again, there's that member information right there, but we appreciate your support. Shout out to Torrent Craig. Shout out to Rachel, who hates my voice. Shout out to Queensland, Australia, where the Torres show is popping. We got to get Foster's Beer to be our advertiser so we can do some live shows in Australia. That's all for today's show. Appreciate everybody's support. We'll be back probably tomorrow. Hopefully Curtis Wilkerson, maybe live if something interesting happens. Have a great Wednesday night, Thursday morning, whenever you're listening to this.